How to become a house. Scene 1. Haze's house. The room is immaculate. A seating area, a couch, an armchair, a tall floor lamp, an end table, a work area. Near a window, a desk with a table lamp and some work neatly laid out on top. A tall cabinet with a glass door. The walls are wallpapered with a dull neutral color. A few frames and a mirror hang on it meticulously. The floor is an outdated tile that has thwarted all attempts of being overpowered by a statement rug. The decor of the room is subdued, undemanding, and unsure of itself. Boxes of all sizes line the skirting of the wall, with some objects sticking out of them. Rolled up posters, book stacks, a skateboard, a lamp. Don is sitting on the armchair on his phone, his back to Haze, who is standing on the end table. Haze has a new clock and is trying to figure out where to hang it. Holding it in one hand, he moves his arm around awkwardly, trying to lean back with his torso to see it from afar. He almost falls over, but manages to balance himself.
Sit down, man.
Haze doesn't answer as he's focused on the task. Don turns back to look at him.
Oh, you're so cute.
Haze pauses in place for a moment, then puts his arm down and turns around to meet Don's gaze. He has a stern expression on his face, but he's trying to cover it with a smile. He looks uncomfortable, wound up.
You really mean, actually.
Wow, really?
Haze turns around and resumes his attempts at finding a perfect spot for the clock. It's not a very organized system. He mostly holds the clock in 3 or 4 interchanging locations. Don waves a hand dismissively at Haze and turns away from him again. He picks up his phone, unlocks it, and then almost immediately locks it again and returns it to the coffee table. He turns back to look at Haze again.
I just want to chill with you, bro. Hello? Haze, did you disappear again?
Haze turns around abruptly as though taken out of a trance.
What?
His eye keeps darting back and forth around the walls, scouting potential clock locations.
I didn't mean anything by it. Hey, I just want you to hang.
Yeah, okay, I know, okay, and I will.
Don turns the armchair around to better look at Haze. Haze steps down from the chair and sits on it, then immediately gets back up and stands there, looking at Don. He begins to shake his leg impatiently. The clock is still in his hands.
Look, I've been wanting to replace that clock forever, and I'm happy with this one, and...
Sure, man.
What, Don? What did I do that's so wrong?
You're not doing anything wrong. Nothing wrong. I'm just stating a fact, man. You change your mind a lot about things.
Don rubs his hands over his eyes. Haze looks visibly stressed.
No, I don't. What, I can't buy new stuff every once in a while?
You totally can, bro. That came out wrong, that's all.
Haze pauses, unsure what to do with his body. He twirls the clock in between 2 index fingers. A sly grin grows on Don's face.
Will you forgive me?
Haze slaps his arms down onto his sides, then waves irritably at Don. Don laughs. Haze picks up the end table, moving it to the adjacent wall, and stands up on it. He resumes his process.
Haze, come on, man. I'm your friend. I love you.
Okay, shit. You're really stressing me out right now.
Bro, I'm just being stupid. It's completely normal for people to go through phases.
I'm not in a phase. I don't go through phases.
Don laughs and instantly covers his mouth. Haze is glaring at him from atop the end table.
No, but you're not being realistic here, Haze. When I met you, you were like in full goth mode.
I wasn't full goth mode, okay? I just dressed different.
Oh my God. You had posters of Robert Smith in your wall.
That's not relevant.
Bro, where do you even find those in that cute little town?
Haze turns back around and faces the wall.
Dawn. And after the eyeliner, you went and got the skateboard and you were gonna be Tony Hawk until you weren't.
Look, that's different.
Dawn spots the skateboard in a box and gasps, pointing to it excitedly.
Is that it?
Haze turns and looks over at the skateboard, then turns towards Dawn.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get it, all right? I'm inconsistent and I'm overexcited and it's cringy and I suck, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all, bro.
Haze turns back towards the wall. The clock is in his hands, hovering uncomfortably near his stomach.
All what I'm saying is that there are some people who don't really care what others thinks about them. And that's fact. And it's not good or bad. And then there is people like you who
do too much, right? Yeah.
Haze.
Haze grabs a frame from the wall and gently tosses it into a box on the floor underneath him. He hangs the clock in its place and stares at it for a silent moment.
Are we good, bro?
Haze gets down from the table and sits on it. He puts his face in his hands, and another moment passes.
Do you hate it already?
Shit. Okay, Don, you have to go. I'm sorry. You're making me very uncomfortable right now, and Look, I need you to leave, okay? Sorry. Please just leave.
Dawn is taken aback. Haze paces in place, then goes towards the box where he had just tossed the frame and squats in front of it, grabs the frame and stares at it. His back is to Dawn.
All right. I didn't mean to do that. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
He drops the frame back into the box. Dawn begins to walk towards the door, then stops halfway.
Haze.
Hmm?
You are gonna be all right.
Haze turns his head towards Dawn for a moment, giving a weak smile, then turns back.
I'll check up on you later.
Dawn exits. Haze turns around and sits on the floor. He stares at his new clock hanging on the wall. Scene ends. Scene 2. Haze is seated on the skateboard, back against the wall, boxes surrounding him in pillars. The rest of the room remains tidy. Haze is looking through the boxes, mechanically pulling out objects, papers, images, staring at them and putting them back. He sniffles and wipes tears from his faces as he does. His face is blank, as though he's been crying for a long time. He picks up one of his old clocks from a box and suddenly throws it across the room. It hits the wall and crashes to the floor. He pushes the boxes aside aggressively, then rubs his face with his hands. He stays like this for a moment. The desk and floor lamps begin to flicker and dim, and at first he doesn't notice. But suddenly the new clock drops from its hanging place onto the floor, joining the other one. Haze snaps up, looking around for the source of the noise, and gets distracted by the lights. He stands up and looks over his shoulder as though he heard something. He goes towards the floor lamp and flicks the switch. It turns off. He flicks it again, and it turns on. Both lamps stop flickering. Haze waits for a moment, then begins to walk towards the clocks. He's interrupted by a new flicker in the lights, and he becomes distracted again. He turns, looking all around. Muffled music can be heard, as though from another room. It doesn't seem to have a specific source or a specific melody. Haze calms down for a moment, stopping to listen rather than to find the source. His body becomes less tense. The lights stop flickering. He doesn't seem to care. He's mesmerized by the sound until it stops.
Wait, hold on, wait.
Haze stops to listen, but nothing happens.
What the fuck is going on?
Haze lets out a short sob. The music starts again, then stops.
Please, please stay. I really need this. I've been so fucking overwhelmed today. My whole life, really. I'm just so overwhelmed. Trying so hard to figure out what or who is underneath all of this. This fucking shell that's just reflecting all these shiny things and shiny people that I like for a while, and then they just go, and it's so shit. I don't even know how to describe it anymore, because when you do that, I don't feel these things anymore. I feel like it doesn't even matter anymore.
The music resumes, cutting him off. He stops and listens, closing his eyes. He begins to sway in place as though entranced. He's smiling, his arms wrap around each other in a gentle embrace. After a moment, he opens his eyes, becoming aware of his stance, and laughs. He stays like that.
I wish I could understand what I'm feeling right now. Like, I know you. Like, I miss you.
The music stops. He instantly wilts, drooping in his posture.
God, I feel like shit.
The music responds.
I feel like safe. I don't know. I'm like somewhere now. How are you doing this? Am I? No. Am I? No. This feels real. This is real.
The music makes a twinkly sound.
I want to be able to do that for myself. I want to be able to shed the weight off just like that. Just like that. How do you do that?
The music does not respond.
Wait, how do you do that? How?
He stops to listen, but the music is gone.
No. Wait, how? How do I make that happen again? How?
He takes a deep breath and chokes on it. He coughs for a while. He takes another deep breath, which seems to make him more frustrated.
Okay. Yeah. Hello?
Nothing happens.
Hello?
Haze begins to turn in place, looking all around. He sighs.
Buddy, look, I'm going through something here.
He begins to pace.
I just want to talk to you, please.
He goes to the wall and begins to bang on it.
Hey, please.
He slams his hands against the wall once, then backs away.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hear me out, please.
He waits, tapping his foot impatiently.
Yeah, okay.
He stomps his foot down.
Hey, I know you're here. I don't want to hurt you, okay? I just want...
He places his hands on the wall again.
It can't be like this anymore.
He bangs the wall again.
I can't be like this anymore, okay? You get it?
Suddenly, he turns his head towards one of the boxes. He runs over to it and pulls out a large kitchen knife and runs back.
Okay, listen. I can't be like this anymore. So you need to talk to me, okay, buddy? I need...
He slashes the wallpaper with a knife and begins to tear at it. He tries to grab at the wood panels of the wall, scratch them, cut them, but he can't seem to deal any damage. He sticks the knife into the wall.
Ah! Please, you have to talk to me. How can I get to you, huh?
He looks around frantically, then runs toward the mirror and grabs it.
Are you in here? Huh? Are you trapped, buddy?
He smashes the mirror on the floor.
Okay. I've seen the movies. I know the way. I have to
He begins to search through the drawers, in the cabinet, under the furniture, leaving everything disheveled, humming to himself as he does. Finally, he finds a pack of white candles, rips the bag, and the candles scatter. He yells, then lets out a short, exasperated laugh.
It's okay. It's okay. I've got it.
He looks all around the room, spots a lighter on the floor, runs to grab it.
Good. Good. Okay.
He begins setting up candles on the floor, dripping wax for them to stick on. He sits near the candles.
Okay. You like that?
He listens, but no music plays. He lights another candle, burning his finger, and shakes his hand.
Look, I don't know who you are, but I can feel you here. I can feel something.
He lights another candle.
Something moving and faltering, flickering.
She lights a candle and burns his finger. He shakes his hand, then puts his burnt finger in his mouth. A pause, then he rubs his hands over his face.
Maybe I'm losing my mind. Maybe this is just how it's going to be forever.
He looks around his wrecked room.
I feel like I'm wearing this latex suit and it's just too tight, you know? And it keeps getting tighter. Like if I were to rip through it, my arms and legs would just keep going nonstop. Like, this can't be all there is to me. It can't.
He crawls over to the corner of the room where he had ripped out the wallpaper and stretches upward to pull the knife out of the wall. He sits back, holding the knife, playing with it as he speaks.
And you, whoever you are, but you just seem so untethered. Like you can be anything, or like a bunch of things, all on top of each other, switching out, transforming. I can't explain it. It's like flipping through radio frequencies, but it's all music that I love. Like I'm driving home at night, listening, and that's it. Everyone's dumb ideas of what you're meant to be just go through you. And it's so comfortable and so familiar and so nice.
He chuckles, waving his arms as though gesturing to the room, knife still in his hand.
And here I am trying to dumb you into some lights or a dead person and involve you in my petition. Get you to talk like language means anything to you. I'm sorry, buddy. I really am. Shit.
He throws the knife. It hits one of the stacked boxes in his room and it falls, scattering random objects onto the floor. Scene ends. Scene 3. A spotlight comes on and off, highlighting different moments around the room. It goes like this. The spotlight is on Haze, a portion of the wall behind him, and some of the floor. Haze is spilling the contents of a box onto the floor. They crash or float down, bounce, roll away, or land with a thud. Papers, photographs, objects, utensils, a candle holder, a couple of books, a clock, a few tubes of oil paint, and a long pearl necklace. The spotlight is on Haze. seated in a squat on top of the couch, almost in the center of the room. None of the walls show, just some of the floor around the couch, which is cluttered with objects that have been thrown about. Haze stretches his arms and legs, trying to imitate the shape of the couch. He wobbles and almost tips over as he tries to balance on the soft surface. The spotlight is on the ceiling lamp, which is a bare bulb hanging from a wire. It shakes as we hear Haze run around the room in the darkness, footsteps, objects clattering, and ow as he bumps into furniture. The spotlight is on Haze, who is lying on the jarring statement rug, his limbs spread out as he actively stretches. He groans as though challenging the length of his arms and legs. He grabs the edges of the rug and wears it like a blanket, then unfurls again. The spotlight is on Haze, leaning against the wall in the corner of the room near the floor lamp. He is reading something written in an old diary. A box sits on the floor near his feet.
And I'm certain that this is the last time I will worry about this. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be somebody who doesn't care.
August 2017. What a fucking load. Huh, buddy?
The spotlight is on the desk and the little window near it. Haze is seated at the edge of the window, leaning out. His back arched back, his head not visible, but likely watching the sky outside. Papers skip around on the desk as the breeze hits them. The spotlight is on Haze as he stands in front of the wall previously covered with frames. Instead, it has a bunch of mirrors of different shapes and sizes. He is hanging another. The mirror he broke earlier is still on the floor. The spotlight is on the couch, which is now pushed against the wall of mirrors. The wall is only partially visible behind the couch, but it seems that the mirrors have been taken down. One of them is on the couch. We can hear Haze moving something heavy across the room. The spotlight is on Haze and a portion of the wall near the window. He is in the middle of spray painting something on the wall, but the full text isn't visible. The spotlight is on the floor in the center of the room, where all of the clocks from the boxes have been stacked on top of each other in a pyramid, and Haze is pouring a liquid on them from a squirty detergent-looking bottle. A match is struck, the light of the flame, and then the clock pyramid lights up in fire. Scene ends. Scene 4. The room is in disarray. The furniture has been moved around haphazardly, creating a space in the middle of the room where a pile of clocks is currently on fire. All of the contents of the boxes have been spilled, so there are frames, tableware, photos, documents, and trinkets everywhere. Several lamps of different styles have been uncomfortably placed in various locations. These lamps are the only light source besides that of the clock fire. The candles have melted to the floor. The mirror lies broken in its place. The wallpaper has been ripped further, and big black letters on the wall read, "There is a ghost in the house." Due to the incoherence in Haze's phases, the style of everything is eclectic. The big furniture is muted, earthy colors, but the trinkets on the floor introduce some bright clashing colors and shiny metals. Haze is standing in the back corner of his room, where the desk used to be. He's almost invisible, camouflaged in the same dull colors of his room. Dawn opens the door, which isn't locked. He looks around, squinting in the low light.
Haze, it's me, bro.
He begins to take notice of the state of the room.
What the fuck?
He stops to read the writing on the wall.
Haze, you are creeping me out, man.
Haze steps forward, seemingly out of nowhere.
Hey, buddy.
Were you always just standing there?
Always?
Look, I'm worried about you, man. You haven't replied to any of my texts and...
Dawn gestures towards the text on the wall.
This is creepy shit, man.
That's always been there.
And those fucking clocks. Have they always been on fire? Haze, I'm worried you're gonna hurt yourself.
Those clocks outlived their use to me.
Bro, can you even hear what I'm telling you right now?
Just shh. Just for a second. Hey, can you feel that?
Don is startled. He looks all around him, visibly shaken. He holds up his hands and looks at them.
What is that?
Doesn't that feel nice?
Don closes his eyes for a moment, a smile beginning to grow on his face, but then snaps up and shakes himself out of it.
Haze, I'm gonna come back, all right? Just, please don't do anything crazy, man.
Don looks around and shakes his head.
Don, hey, come back anytime.
Don sits in it for a moment, then exits. Scene ends. Scene 5. A spotlight is on Haze, standing in front of the wall that reads, "There is a ghost in the house." He stares at it for a moment, then walks off into the darkness. He can be heard rustling through some objects before walking back into the spotlight, a spray can in his hand. He sprays over the words, "There is," and above the fresh mess of black paint adds the words, "I am." He stops to stare again, his hand at his side, loosely gripping the spray can. Shortly, he walks out of the light again. The wall now reads, "I am a ghost in the house." Scene ends. Scene 6. The lights are off. Haze can be heard walking around, moving objects, placing them carefully on the floor, walls, and tables. He rolls out extension cords and plugs in every lamp he comes across. As he plugs each one, it turns on. After the lamps are all plugged in, he continues shuffling the other objects around. Each time he crosses a lamp on his path, it turns on or off. The lights begin to appear and disappear, tracing his trajectory through the room. This goes on for 2 to 3 minutes. As he does, he is speaking to himself.
I don't go through phases. I collect them. I wear them like jewelry. I accept them as part of me. And then I shed their weight off. The dinosaur decor of my first room. Dawn, the first time I saw him cry, where I was born, where I grew up. The kind of special mom and dad wanted me to be. The only goth kids in town. Shoebox full of Polaroids. The kind of special I wanted to be. Samir, the last time I saw him, the anxiety I feel when it's time to visit home. Moving here, floors, ceilings, walls, room.
The lights turn on all at once. Scene ends. Scene 7. Haze is no longer visible in the room. There are no boxes anymore, and everything is laid out, hanging, leaning against walls in the center of the room, spread out. There are no clocks or X-clock piles of ash anywhere. There are traces of a mess, but the room feels more full than wrecked. Muffled music can be heard coming from seemingly nowhere. As Dawn walks into the room, the music stops. Dawn moves hesitantly, looking around in awe.
Haze,
As he calls, Dawn can't take his eyes away from the incredible clutter. It looks like a museum, and there's no response. Dawn is staring at one spot on the wall, a poster. He leans forward to inspect it more closely before realizing that Haze has not yet responded. As he walks over to the window, he calls again.
Haze,
He peeks outside the window, looking in all directions. He turns back and continues walking through the room. His eyes are glued to the floor, both mesmerized by the objects and careful not to step on them.
are you here, man?
No response. He stops and squats down, observing the objects around his feet. The music twinkles.
Yeah, you are.
Dawn springs upward, swaying a little before balancing himself. He walks towards the wall, looking at all the hanging objects. He presses his hands to the wall, then slowly brings his face against it. He laughs a quiet laugh, and then a much louder one that fills the room.
Bro, this is crazy.
He runs over the opposite wall, hopping through the maze of objects. Laughing, he presses his hands and face against it.
This is sick.
He pulls away and begins to walk around the room, looking at and feeling random things as he does.
Hey, so I have been thinking about, I don't like the way that went down the other day.
He pauses and looks around him as though he hears something close. He turns back around slowly, his eyes narrowed.
I should have been nicer about it, more honest about it.
He dawdles for a moment, contemplating his next sentence.
Honestly, I wasn't so caught up with keeping cool, and I don't know how you do this. Talk about the ugly things or just admit that you are real, man. Acting like I fucking know shit. I don't know dick, bro. I'm jaded as fuck. Maybe you can teach me this trick.
He stops in place.
I'm gonna say something a little weird. You have always kind of looked like this.
He takes a moment to think about the absurdity of what he just said before continuing.
Cozy room and good bones and...
Dawn sighs. He looks at the wall behind him, which now reads, "I am a ghost in the house." He looks around him, spotting a spray can nearby, and goes to pick it up. He walks towards the wall and begins to spray, scribbling chaotically over the middle of the phrase. He walks backwards a few paces until he is in the center of the room, can in hand, and silently reads the new text, "I am a house." He sits on the floor and puts the spray can down gently. He folds his legs in front of him.
I can tell you this, though, man. Being one kind of person, being the right kind of person, it's bullshit. Bullshit.
He leans over to grab the skateboard, which is on the floor close to him. He observes it, flipping it over in his hands. Dawn laughs quietly, shaking his head. The bottom of the deck has a stylized image of Robert Smith.
I love that you change your mind about things. I really hope you know that it doesn't have to be the last time. Every time.
He puts the skateboard down.
And I should have been more honest. I should have been sadder around you, and I should have been ugly and angry and confused and scared.
He looks around the room once more, twisting around to see behind him.
From now on, I guess.
Dawn makes a little clearing behind him and slowly leans back until he is lying down on the floor. He lowers his legs and folds his arms behind his head like a pillow, and a moment of quiet.
Haze, I love what you have done with the place.
He laughs for a moment and then lays in silence for another. Scene ends. End of play.